several bills, and we will begin with opening statements. I'll recognize myself for one briefly, but I first want to say, as is our usual practice, there will be consultation in setting roll call times. I hope we'll be able to do one today and one tomorrow. These do not appear to me to be likely to generate as many roll calls as some bills in the past, but we will be accommodating that. We have to see how many members are planning to go to the portrait hanging for Mr. Goodlatte. If nobody is, we know when you can have votes, but if people are, then that's at 6 to 6:30. But I'm pretty sure, I know we'll be able to accommodate the votes. We'll have one set today, one set tomorrow. And with that, I will make my opening statement. We have several bills. We did do some non-controversial bills last week. We have two today that I believe are also broadly supported within the committee that go to the improvement in the functioning of housing programs. First, the Public Housing Asset Management Act. I will say this is something that HUD opposes, but we heard from a very broad range of housing authorities, virtually all of the housing authorities, and there are different groups, the National Association of Housing Redevelopment Officials, the Council of Large Public Housing Agencies, authorities rather, and the Public Housing Agency directors, all asking for more flexibility and less rigidity in this asset management, and I think this is an important one to go ahead with. There's an amendment there the gentleman from New York is going to offer that I believe is going to be non-controversial. Then we have, I think, a very broadly supported bill that we have put together in a very bipartisan basis. It was the swan song of the gentleman from Illinois as her ranking member position, but we really did this at the request of all the groups that do elderly housing, the nonprofit and profit groups, and it's a bill that I believe really does improve the efficiency. It's going to give us more bang for the buck, and it's a genuine bipartisan one. Then we have one that comes in the lead in this are our colleagues from Florida, gentlemen from Florida, Mr. Mahoney, Mr. Klein, to try to deal with the problems that became evident with our inability to get a good response to the hurricanes, and even more the aftermath of these hurricanes and the problem of the lack of availability and increased expense for insurance. I know there have been some conversations going on here on a bipartisan basis. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Brown-Waite, and others, we will deal with that. Now, those are all, I believe, for today. I think we can deal with all of those today. We have two bills then for tomorrow. One is a major rewrite of the Hope 6 program. The gentleman from California, the chair of the Housing Subcommittee, has been working hard on this, along with the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Watt, who's been long interested in this. The gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Shays, has been a major participant. We began early this year in a rare chance to get some bipartisan cooperation. We had a meeting with Senator Mikulski, who's very active on this. There are a couple of issues there that are of some controversy. So this is one where we have a framework of agreement and some issues basically dealing with replacement and what happens to the tenants pending the building that we will be dealing with. And finally, we have the bill offered by the chair of the Subcommittee on Financial Institutions on the practices of banks regarding overdraft protection. And the question is whether you can be protected whether you want to be or not. As I think about the practices here, I'm reminded of the lines from The King and I, the last of which was, will they not protect me out of all I own? And I think that is the concern people have here. But the Hope 6 and the overdraft will be tomorrow. The housing asset management and supportive housing and homeowners defense are today. Let me just, I know not all the members are here, but I've been talking to the majority leadership which schedules the bills. There aren't a lot of days left in the session for floor action as opposed to suspensions. We have the Housing Trust Fund bill that is scheduled for floor action, and we intend to do, and I know the ranking member has had a long interest in this and has filed legislation on it. In October, we will be marking up a predatory lending bill for the going forward, and it is my intention to have that on the floor of the House before we adjourn for the year, a predatory lending bill. In addition, we will have Hope 6 and the flood insurance, the insurance NatCat approach which we are taking today, one or the other of those is probably going to be on the floor. Obviously, we have the hurricane season, but the likelihood of any final action being taken before the winter and the end of the hurricane season is negligible. So those will be those are the next two in line coming from our committee for floor action. One other announcement I want to make: I originally scheduled for this markup the amendment to the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act we did, the data privacy. And members will remember that there was a provision in there that said we wanted to have a procedure whereby consumers could challenge the accuracy of credit charges that they had, where they got their credit report and they were accused of not having made a payment. And we believed, and I think this was very much a bipartisan issue, that there ought to be a mechanism whereby consumers could challenge not just the fact that it was recorded, but that it was inaccurate. And we then made a mistake, and I will take some blame for this because I was one of the ones active on that provision. We gave it to the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Reserve, the Credit Union National Administration, the Office of Control of the Currency, the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, the Office of Thrift Supervision, and I think Major League Baseball and the Red Cross. Obviously, that's way too many organizations. They're busy people. Nothing has happened. I filed a bill to say we'll give it to the FTC. That did appear to stimulate an interest in this provision that we had not previously been able to see, and I've heard from the Control and others, there is a real interest now in that being done. It may be done. I did agree to have another hearing. There were some concerns that people in the bank industry to have it only be the FTC, and I do think there's an argument for some consultation being written in. Anyway, we'll have another hearing on that. Let me say, I will be very pleased if I am made irrelevant on this. That is, if they finally get together and adopt some regulations, we won't have to do anything. But if they don't, we're going to go ahead with this legislation, and we're going to proceed on track. And whoever gets to the finish line first, that'll be who will be dealing with it. With that, I'm going to recognize the ranking member for a statement.